Okay, let me tell you a quick story. It's a story that I'm willing to bet sounds incredibly familiar to you, and it gets right to the heart of this huge illusion we all have. This idea that if we just had more money, we'd finally be happy. So let's dig into why that feeling of enough always seems to be just over the horizon.
So I want you to think back about 5 years. You were making something like, say, $42,000 a year. Remember that? The apartment was probably a little smaller, the car was definitely older, and money was tight. It was a constant thought, a source of stress.
And back then you had a number, right? We all do, a magic number in your head. You probably thought, man, if I could just get to $70,000 a year, I'd be set. I could finally relax, I'd be comfortable. That was the finish line.
Well, let's fast forward to today, and guess what? You did it. You got the promotion, you put in the hours, you landed that better job, you're now pulling in $78,000 a year. You didn't just hit your goal, you totally blew past it.
And yet, somehow, you feel the exact same pressure, don't you? If you're being really honest with yourself, maybe you're even more stressed out now than you were back then. And the wildest part, you're probably already thinking, if I could just hit 6 figures, then I'd be good. So what on earth is going on here?
Listen, if that little story hit home, it's not because you're doing something wrong or you're bad with money. It's because you, and almost all of us, are caught in a really powerful psychological trap.
And this trap, it has a name. It's called the Hedonic Treadmill. It sounds kind of weird, I know, but just picture it. It's this invisible machine that keeps you running and running towards financial happiness, but you never actually get any closer.
So here's the key idea. Hedonic adaptation. It just means that we humans have this remarkable and, let's be honest, kind of frustrating ability to just get used to things. Doesn't matter if it's a huge win or a huge loss. Our brains are basically hardwired to drag us back to our personal baseline of happiness.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. A famous study back in 1978 looked at the most extreme examples. They found that just 1 year later, big lottery winners were not significantly happier than anyone else. In fact, some of them got less joy from everyday stuff. And on the flip side, people who had suffered terrible accidents often returned to a level of happiness that was surprisingly close to where they started. Our brains just level out.
Now, maybe you haven't won the lottery, but this happens to all of us. Studies show that when you get a good financial boost, like a raise, your brain completely resets its expectations in just 3 to 6 months. So that salary that felt amazing in January, by July, it's just your salary. It's the new normal. The baseline is shifted, and the hunt for more starts all over again.
And look, this isn't just a feeling or some vague psychological theory. We can actually measure this. The numbers tell the exact same story. Research from places like Princeton and Wharton show this perfectly. It's the law of diminishing returns for happiness. So look at this. Doubling your income from $50,000 to $100,000. Yeah, that gives you a pretty big happiness boost. But doubling it again from $100K to $200K? The emotional payoff is a tiny fraction of what it was before. You're working harder, taking on way more stress for a much, much smaller reward.
And here's exactly how it plays out in the real world. You get a solid $20,000 raise. Awesome. Your monthly take-home pay jumps up. But then, what happens? Well, you get a nicer apartment, you upgrade the car, you start eating out more, and suddenly, poof, your expenses have magically expanded to swallow up that entire raise. And here's the truly insane part. You can end up with less money left over at the end of the month, less breathing room than you had before. That's lifestyle inflation. It's the treadmill in action.
And the end result of all this is a statistic that is just staggering. A recent report found that 52% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year still say they're living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't an income problem, you see. It's a psychology problem. The treadmill doesn't have a finish line, which means the race can never, ever end.
Okay, so this all sounds kind of bleak, right? If running faster on the treadmill doesn't work, then how in the world do you win? Well, it's simple. You have to step off the treadmill entirely. And here's exactly how you can do it. First things first, you have to understand what actually buys you lasting happiness. The research here is overwhelming. Spending money on experiences, a trip, a concert, learning a new skill, that provides way more long-term well-being than just buying more stuff. Think about it. You get used to a new phone in a few weeks, but you can pull happiness from the memory of an amazing vacation for the rest of your life. All right, enough theory, let's get really practical. I'm going to give you 3 specific, concrete strategies you can use to consciously get off this treadmill and take back control of your financial and emotional life.
Step 1 is to create what's called a lifestyle anchor. Now, the trick here is crucial. You have to make the rule before you get the raise. Take temptation right out of the equation. For instance, you commit right now that 70% of any future raise automatically goes into savings or investments, period. Only 30% is for fun or lifestyle upgrades. This totally short-circuits that automatic spending and forces you to be intentional.
Now, the second strategy, I'll admit, it sounds a little weird at first. It's an old technique from the Stoic philosophers called negative visualization. All you do is once a week, just take a couple of minutes and really vividly imagine your life without the things you take for granted. Your job, your home, your car. The point isn't to be depressing. The point is to break your brain's adaptation. When you open your eyes, that gap between what you imagined and what you have creates this wave of genuine gratitude. And gratitude is one of the only proven antidotes to the hedonic treadmill.
And finally, we get to the most powerful step of all. This is the one that changes the entire goal of the game. You have to stop trying to make more money just to buy more stuff. Instead, you start optimizing to buy back your time. Every single dollar you invest instead of spend is like a little employee working 24/7 to buy you your future freedom. You redirect your ambition away from an endless race for more things and towards a very real, very achievable race for independence. And that's a race that actually has a finish line.
So here's the bottom line. You are not broken for feeling this way. You're just human, running on some really ancient software in a modern world that is built to exploit it. But the beautiful thing about being human is that you can see the programming and choose to do something different. You can decide that real success isn't about finally, desperately reaching some imaginary finish line. It's about having the wisdom to just step off a treadmill that was never, ever going to take you anywhere in the first place.